Shizuku Mizutani is tasked with delivering the class printouts to Haru Yoshida's home. Haru sees this as something only a friend would do and declares that they are friends. Their class teacher, Siko, tries to get Shizuku to persuade Haru to come to school, or else he would be expelled. Meanwhile, Haru's punk friends take advantage of his sincerity and use him for money, but Shizuku steps in and reveals the truth to Haru. He then confesses of loving her. Haru eventually goes back to school, where his inability to distinguish social protocols causes a wave of bizarre actions. Eventually, Haru nags Shizuku to go to a manjayaki restaurant, but she states that she can't because of her studies. Though when he solves her math problem, she has a flashback where Haru had been the top-ranked student before he was suspended. Shizuku then deems him her rival and studies hard, eventually places first in the midterms. In the end, Shizuku agrees to go to the restaurant. On their way, Haru casually kisses her, leaving her stunned. Shizuku and Haru end up going to the restaurant Haru has been rambling about for the past few days. But when Shizuku can't escape the thought of Haru kissing her, she decides to forget about it by eating more than she would have. Later, a girl named Asako Natsume asks her a favor and Shizuku immediately rejects it. However, she is later convinced to help her out because she feels like the girl has the same experiences as she has. Afterwards, Haru and Natsume attend the offline meeting to make more friends as a reward for helping her study, but both come back with no gain. Afterwards, Haru and Shizuku sit on the roof, causing the latter to miss class for the first time. As Shizuki thinks about how Haru has changed her for the better, she confesses that she loves Haru. Still on the rooftop, Shizuku comes to her senses and says that she didn't really have feelings for Haru, who claims that he is happy with just that. Haru, Asako, and Sasayan get permission from the school to keep the rooster in school after Sasayan's pet cat makes it impossible for him to take care of the rooster at home. The three of them, including Shizuku, decide to build a chicken coop with help from Haru's punk friends. Afterwards, Haru and Shizuku walk home together. Haru expresses that only good things have happened to him ever since he met Shizuku. Shizuku, being unable to contain her emotions, confesses that she has really fallen in love with him, to which Haru counters that his love for her may be different. Haru receives a text from Mitsuyoshi that Yuzin is coming to see him, to which he asks Shizuku to spend the night at her home. Shizuku explains to Haru that he should stop constantly glaring at people, which is the reason others are constantly afraid of and avoid him, so he changes his personality by smiling and even offering help to people. The girls at school realize that he isn't a bad person and become infatuated with him to the point where he becomes popular, making Shizuku jealous. Haru's popularity is short-lived when he beats up an upperclassman after he picked on a timid-looking girl from Class C. Later on, he begins to doubt whether he is doing the right thing, to which Shizuku says that people will eventually see him as a kind person. Following the start of summer, the group goes for a trip in the mountains, and upon returning they meet Haru's brother Yuzin. Shizuku realizes she has a lot to learn about Haru. Haru wonders if there is anything he can do for Shizuku since she is always there to save him, to which she says he can repay her with a date. Shizuku begins to show an interest in learning more about Haru's past, and when Yuzin shows up after school to meet with her, she takes the opportunity. Yuzin explains that their father had kicked Haru out of their home around the time he started middle school, but had changed his mind now and wants Haru to come home. Haru intervenes and Yuzin tells him that he wants Haru to stay in school even if it's only because of Shizuku. Afterwards, Haru and Shizuku walk home together and Haru opens up to her about his past. Shizuku stops and tells Haru that if he wants to be somewhere else he should go, but she would be sad if he left. Haru tells her that he chooses to be with her. Back at school, Shizuku reflects on how much her life has changed since she met Haru. The class representative from Class A, Ashima, timidly approaches Haru at the lockers and thanks him for standing up for her as Shizuku notices her blushing when speaking to Haru. Shizuku realizes that the more she spends thinking about things pertaining to Haru, the more her grades suffer, to the extent where she places 29th in the mock exams. At the same time, Ashima struggles with her feelings over Haru and her troubles of being an introvert. Haru encounters Ashima at lunch where they talk about her not having any friends, therefore the group meets at the library to plan strategies on how she can be more sociable. Haru and Shizuku then have a fight which results in Shizuku ignoring him for a while. Ashima reflects on how she has never truly interacted with anyone because she is afraid and notes how Shizuku doesn't mind being alone. Afterwards, Shizuku explains her reasons for avoiding Haru, which are then translated by Ashima in an outburst, surprising everyone. Haru eventually takes Shizuku out on their date to the library where she explains that she no longer feels attracted to him. Asako becomes upset because of Shizuku's unwillingness to share her experiences. Haru discusses his relationship troubles with Oshima. Meanwhile, he experiences flashbacks from his time with his aunt Kyoko, many of them revolving around her trying to reach out to Haru with various forms of schooling and advice. Using this, he decides not to give up on Shizuku. However, Haru's constant smothering leads to her to demand her personal space, to which Natsume adds that being touched by someone she doesn't like is the most repulsive thing to a girl. Sasayan and his friends try to earn extra money from the upcoming festival, but their plans are ruined when Haru gets into a fight with an upperclassman, upsetting Shizuku in the process. Again, Shizuku's true intentions are translated by Oshima. Shizuku ends up having a discussion with Yamaguchi about what her personal priorities should be, to which she chooses schoolwork over Haru. Later on, Haru encounters Shizuku on his way home. He admits his feelings once again and almost kisses her, but stops himself, remembering Natsume's words. Shizuku runs away, even though she seemingly still has feelings for Haru. Back home, Haru thinks of Shizuku fondly. The Shoyo festival begins as Haru gets upset when he discovers Yamaguchi with Shizuku. He goes to punch Yamaguchi but misses and hits Shizuku instead, leading her to demand her personal space. Afterwards, Shizuku opens up to Asako about her inability to be free of Haru. Using her logic, she deduces that Haru only clings to her because she was easily accessible in his bid to rid his loneliness. However, Asako counters that it is only natural that nobody wants to be alone and questions Shizuku's trust of Haru, to which she responds positively. However, Shizuku declares that her personal matters are none of Asako's business. Yamaguchi overhears the conversation and afterwards explains to Shizuku that the reason she can't be free of Haru is because he fulfills her expectations of human interaction, but she doesn't try to meet his, hurting him in the process. Later on, Yamaguchi asks if she feels lonely after chasing off all her friends, but Shizuku says that she never felt lonely because she chose to be a loner. Their talk is cut short when Yamaguchi notices Yuzin and pulls Shizuku into an empty room, stating that he had a past traumatic experience with him. At the same time, Haru bursts into the room with Oshima after noticing Yuzin as well. Yamaguchi and Shizuku hide and listen as he asks Oshima for advice, wondering why things get worse every time he shows his feelings for Shizuku. Things take a turn when Oshima confesses to Haru, shocking him. Yamaguchi reveals himself with Shizuku just as Yuzin walks in. Haru grabs Oshima and holds her threateningly in front of Yuzin, but stops himself when he realizes that people are looking at the commotion through the windows. Haru lets Oshima go and runs away. Later on, Shizuku goes to look for Haru, where they both admit their mistakes but can correct and learn from them. Shizuku also apologizes to Asako, who says that she was only doing what a friend does, being concerned about the well-being of those closest to her, to which Shizuku agrees. Afterwards, everyone continues with the festival. In the end, Shizuku and Haru have a heart-to-heart conversation where she admits that she was afraid that if she let herself love Haru, her grades would suffer again. Haru hugs her and Shizuku remembers the familiar feeling back when they were on the rooftop together. She then asks Haru for time to think about their relationship, to which he sincerely smiles. A month since the school festival, Shizuku's father's convenience store goes under for the 6th time, which upsets her. However, she is able to calmly assess the situation. Her father remarks that due to her mother constantly working, she grew up alone, which resulted in her psyche not being able to manifest emotions. Haru, Sasayan and Asako get together for a study group where Shizuku realizes that she hasn't spent any time thinking about her relationship with Haru. After Haru hears the story of how Shizuku never got any goldfish to care for, he spends his time at the river hoping to catch crayfish for her instead. At the library, Shizuku encounters Yamaguchi, where she gets him to explain her priorities in a straightforward manner. Meanwhile, at the bakery where Asako and Sasayan are studying, Asako feels discomfort when some girls enter and trash talk about her within earshot. However, Mitsuyoshi is able to make them leave, which causes Asako to become infatuated with him. Later on, the group meets Haru at the river, and just as they leave, Haru encounters Yamaguchi, who returns Shizuku's pencil. Haru questions him on his feelings for Shizuku, to which he replies by asking Haru if that would inconvenience him. Asako plans a surprise Christmas party to be held at Mitsuyoshi's batting cages. However, the surprise is spoilt when Shizuku confronts her. On their way to buy food for the party, Haru's punk friends invite themselves along with Kenji. The party turns out to be not quite what Asako intended, but everyone seemed to enjoy themselves, although Haru is now caught in a love triangle with Shizuku, Chizuru, and Yamaguchi. Sasayan also makes note of Asako's infatuation with Mitsuyoshi, which disappoints him somewhat. While outside, Haru threateningly tells Yamaguchi to stay away from Shizuku. However, he refuses, even questioning why he fell for her in the first place. Later, when Haru walks Shizuku home, they talk about an analogy for their relationship in the form of Ryunosuke Akutagawa's story, The Spider's Thread. At the end, Haru admits that he is jealous of Shizuku attending winter cram school with Yamaguchi, but after months of thought and Yamaguchi's advice, she finally confesses to Haru that he shouldn't worry because she does indeed love him, which makes him happy. However, Haru mistakes her confession as a promise to not go to the cram school, which she does anyway. Haru makes a scene in public when she is with Yamaguchi, resulting in her snapping at him. In the epilogue, he continues to embarrass her even after one class is over, making sure she goes straight home. They also walk past Oshima, finally seen together with her friend Yumiyama, who teases the former about her affection for Haru. Despite an initial denial, Kenji realizes more and more of his romantic feelings for Shizuku. While the two of them are going to the prep school, Yamaguchi accidentally hugs her in order to move her from a bicycle's route. Right in that moment, Haru comes and hits him in the head. The scene is followed by a usual fight ending with Shizuku telling Haru not to follow her. However, when Yamaguchi mockingly makes fondling motions behind Shizuku, Haru throws a can at him, but it instead hits Shizuku. Shizuku glares at him, but starts walking on anyway. In the prep class, a conversation between Yamaguchi and Shizuku reaches the point where he tells that she and Haru make a nice couple because they are both of the same dumb type. What he meant was that they can only focus on one thing and that he sees people in two groups, smart and dumb. He categorizes himself in the smart one since he's able to see at the big picture. Then she shows some concern for Yamaguchi's bump caused by Haru earlier because she feels partially responsible for that and gave him advice on treating it. As he suddenly blushes, he tells her not to worry about her. After school is over, Yamaguchi is then seen losing his way of direction once again and meeting Haru. This last one offers to accompany him to the bus stop. While they are walking, Haru ahead of Kenji, Yamaguchi remembers of how was different in the past, as the two known each other since kindergarten. His child self was saying Haru to ever walk in front of him. A few other flashbacks show how Haru became cold and violent around elementary school, like a total different person. Back to the present, Yamaguchi tells Haru how much he changed, although he disagrees and says that the only one who has changed is Shizuku. Arrived to the goal, Yamaguchi takes the taxi and Haru remains at the bus stop waiting for the girl. As she comes, he tells her that she's like a hero because she appears every time he needs to see her. Under the rain, Haru hugs her and tells her that he doesn't want to be left behind and that he loves her. Meanwhile, Asako is outside Mitsuyoshi's place, staring at it. In the epilogue, in the prep class, Yamaguchi that waits for the right moment to offer a dinner to Shizuku. When she says she'd like some pasta that night, he prepares himself to ask her out when she pours hot pasta on a plate and starts eating. Yamaguchi spitefully acknowledges his hatred for domesticated girls. Asako reluctantly visits the batting cages to return an item she borrowed from Sasayan. While there, a boy called Yana tries to hit on her, as his friends all tease the situation. Upset by their behavior, Asako leaves. Sasayan goes after and apologizes, causing Asako to tell him why she hates boys because they cause her to be shunned by other girls. She gets embarrassed when Sasayan points out her contradiction in liking Mitsuyoshi. Just then, Haru shows up and obliviously tells them of a picnic Shizuku bribed him with in exchange for him to stop nagging her about cram school. Asako and Haru go to a taiyaki restaurant where she remarks on her feeling of safety around Haru because he likes Shizuku. Eventually, as the year draws to an end, everyone goes their separate ways, leaving Asako a lonely retreat to her online community. When Shizuki calls to ask for a favor, Asako is unable to contain her emotions, which prompts Shizuku to invite her for a sleepover, to which Haru also shows up. Haru explains to Asako that her loneliness was unnecessary because she has an open invitation to visit him whenever she wants, leaving her to ponder if she would still be able to spend time with Haru and Shizuku should they become a couple. The three of them fall asleep after dinner and are awoken by a call from Sasayan inviting them for Hatsumode. There they meet Kenji and his friends as well as Chizuru and Yu. While hanging wishes, Asako and Chizuru talk about their feelings. Later, the group goes to the roof of the batting cages building to all await Hatsuhinode. Here, Asako and Mitsuyoshi talk about the difference between being in love and the blind bliss of friendship, prompting her to inadvertently confess to him, leaving him speechless. Sasayan, who had been listening to Asako's confession, walks over to Yana and tells him his plan had backfired. In the epilogue, Sasayan is shown to be at the shrine before midnight with his friends. He also encounters Kenji and his friends. As they leave and the crowd counts down until midnight, He tries calling Asako, but she doesn't pick up. She is shown to be just waking up after falling asleep with Haru and Shizuku after dinner. She then uses her phone to take a picture of Haru and Shizuku asleep on the floor. Few days after New Year, everything come back to normal. As usual, Shizuku is studying when suddenly Haru barges into her room through the window. Haru asking Shizuku if Shizuku has seen him. Shizuku doesn't understand what Haru means by him and asks Haru to calm down and explain everything. Haru replies Shizuku by saying that he wants to keep it a secret and goes away, leaving his phone behind. Then, Haru encounters all of his friends when searching for him and always leaving something behind. Sometimes after, in the same day, Yumiyama meets Nagoya, Haru's rooster, and brings it to Haru's house, where she meets all of Haru's friends who want to return everything that Yoshida leave behind. Then, everyone think if what Yoshida is looking for is Nagoya. When everybody are going to search for Haru to tell him about Nagoya, Shizuku leaves them and goes home. On her way home, she meets Haru, who tells her that it isn't Nagoya who is he searching for. Haru tells Shizuku that he is searching for a glowing firefly. Unsure about Haru's statement, the two of them suddenly see the firefly. Yoshida then states that he actually wants to see the firefly together with Shizuku, so he's going through searching for it. Shizuku then tells herself that there are still many stories to be told, which is about her friends and also Haru. Epilogue shows that Yu's still waiting at Haru's house with Nagoya, which then she encounters Yuyuzen and Mitsuyoshi Misawa, whom are just coming home.